Strata schemes. You knew it was coming. Here it is. So strata schemes will not apply to you. You don't need to worry about them if you're buying a freestanding home on its own block of land. Okay? You don't have to worry about that. You'll have your own title. However, if you're buying a unit or a villa or a townhouse, they're the ones we spoke about in previous modules that are, in estates or in high-rise buildings, or it might just be a group of two buildings that are attached to each other. And it might just be that those two owners work with each other to determine if there needs to be any maintenance done to any part of this property. But if you're part of an apartment complex, whether it be 60 units or 6 units, there will be a committee that has to decide what's happening with this. How are we maintaining this property? Are we paying the bills? Are we insuring it? And so if you're part of a group of lot owners within a building or an estate or a group of residences, then that is a strata scheme. And your strata scheme will be managed by a committee. Now let's find out what a strata scheme is. This refers to the entire system of property ownership within a particular building or complex. In simple terms, a strata scheme is a system where a building or group of buildings is divided into individual units, or they're called lots. So you might have a villa, or you might have an apartment, or you might have penthouse, or you might have a duplex. Regardless, that is your lot. And these units, they can be apartments or even commercial spaces within a building. Each unit owner owns their own unit and has the right to use and enjoy it. So for the rest of this conversation about strata schemes, I'm going to refer to the majority of people will be buying a unit. So I'll just refer to unit, but at any time, it could be a townhouse or a villa or a duplex. So owners, like I said, owners also share ownership of common areas within the building complex. And that's elevators, staircases, driveways, letterboxes, swimming pools, gardens, the roof of the entire complex. How good's the paint? Maintenance of all of these things. Somebody has to maintain it and pay for the maintenance of it. So a strata title is what you have. Your strata title is your title within that scheme. So the strata title refers to the individual ownership of a specific unit or lot within a building or complex. A strata title is your deed of ownership. When you buy a unit in a strata titled building, like an apartment or a townhouse or one of the others, you don't own the land itself. Instead, you own a lot within the building. You own your specific apartment, but you also share ownership of things like the entrance area and hallways, lifts, stairwells, laundry rooms, car parks, storage areas, bike racks, swimming pools, gyms, gardens and landscaping, courtyards, rooftop terraces. Now you get it, okay? So the strata scheme is the fact that this group of residences is being combined into one scheme, and your title is your lot within that bigger picture. All right. So the body corporate. Remember I said before about there's got to be a committee of people who then make sure that it's managed. So quite often the committee of people can be residences who own individual lots within the scheme. That won't be the tenants. They'll be the owners of those lots. And they get to decide the rules. They get to decide how much money everyone has to pay to pay for the upkeep. And so the committee might say, well, we'll just manage everything ourselves, or they might just hire an outside organization to do it for them and pay an outside organization to look after the building. So it's a committee or like a mini government for your building. they'll have regular meetings, they'll take minutes, they'll be looking at the finances for the building, they'll be talking about the minutes of the meetings will show that they talked about individual concerns of any residents that might have brought something up to be discussed at the meeting. So typically like any kind of committee meeting, really. All owners within the building are required to pay a levy to the body corporate. The body corporate is responsible for maintaining the common areas, collecting the levies, and making decisions about the building, such as approving renovations, setting rules for residents, for example, no loud music after 10:30 p.m. or no pets apart from birds and lizards. Or they might say, yeah, we allow dogs up to a certain size. So that's the committee that makes those decisions. And they also manage the building's finances. That is quite a responsibility. So everything has to be very transparent and record keeping has to be very diligent. And they're also responsible for making sure that there is what's called a sinking fund. So if, for example, the whole structure needs repainting, they need to make sure that they've got money coming up for those upcoming works. So money in the bank for those upcoming works. What happens is over a period of time, there'll be money, the levies are paid, the money in the bank account will go up, up, up. And that's preparing for something that will need to be maintained or renovated in the future. So for example, maybe the entire building needed to be re-roofed. So they might have had $100,000 in their sinking fund, and now they've just spent $62,000 re-roofing the building. So now their sinking fund has dropped back down. That's okay. Then we start preparing for other things that will be coming up in the future. So the owners of the lots within the strata scheme, they elect the committee members. The committee makes decisions about the building's management and what to charge each member of the body corporate. And there are usually regular general meetings where all owners can vote on important issues, like how big can that dog be? Sinking fund, that's what I just described. I just described the sinking fund for you. And so why is this important when you're buying a house? Because you don't want, when you're buying a unit or anything that's in a strata scheme, you don't want to be purchasing into a strata scheme that has no money. If it's got no money and they're saying, oh, that's because we just spent $60,000 re-roofing the building, well, then you need to see the minutes from the last couple of years to verify this. And it's also very important to have a look at these minutes when it's a smaller self-managed committee. A lot of them will farm out the management to professional body corporate organizations to manage it for them. But if you've got just a small group of owners who are just managing their small group of units, have a look at the general upkeep. What's the condition, the overall condition of the complex? Have they been collecting enough levies from the owners to be able to conduct the maintenance that's required? And another very important one to identify is reading back through the minutes. You'll find out if there's any upcoming works that are going to be scheduled and they don't have enough money for it. And so they're going to have to charge the lot owners a special levy to cover that. And it's not unheard of that somebody will sell their unit because there's an upcoming special levy of $3,000 coming up that they don't want to pay, or $30,000. That's an extreme one, but they might sell their unit because that bill is coming up. It's not unheard of. Anyway, so make sure you see for the last 2 years financial statements, records, bank accounts, and meetings of the minutes. You need to make sure the place is insured and see records of insurance as well. You want to make sure that if you're buying a lot in this strata scheme, that it's a healthy strata scheme with good management and diligent processes. Can't say enough about that one. So, therefore, when you are looking at buying into a strata scheme, the body corporate, that committee, needs to provide a disclosure statement to you before you sign the contract. Let me not start saying things that I'm supposed to be reading out of the workbook, because I know some people will be listening to this instead of watching this. So try to get a copy of the body corporate disclosure statement at the open home. You should be provided with one. If the sales agent hasn't got one there for you, it happens. You can start to become a bit suspicious then and say, well, can you at least show me how much money they've got in their bank account? So I would be wanting to, and he's like, oh, she is like, oh, yeah, I'll have to get that from the committee members. They're just a bit vague at the moment. It's hard to get information from them. Run. You don't want that. You don't want to be in that kind of body corporate. So try to get a copy of the body corporate disclosure statement at the open home. The disclosure statement, it it's imperative that the sales agent gets this information to share it with you because that's the seller's responsibility. They are required to provide this information to you before you sign the contract. The property details, a description of the lot being sold, financial information, the current levies payable for the lot, the administrative levies and the sinking fund levies, and details of any special levies that may be coming up. Body corporate details, the name, address, and contact details of the body corporate, including the secretary and strata manager. Common property. This disclosure statement that you receive from the sales agent will have this in it, the common property. So information about any improvements on common property that the owner is responsible for. And body corporate assets, a list of the body corporate assets. Okay. That's what they're required to provide you with. Other information to note: contract termination. If the seller fails to provide a complete and accurate disclosure statement, you may have the right to terminate the contract. Outstanding levies. You may become liable for any outstanding levies on your lot once you are the owner. So be careful to know if there are any outstanding levies by the current owner. Meeting minutes. By reviewing the minutes of the past 2 years, you'll be able to gauge the quality and diligence of the body corporate committee. And the community management system. This is interesting. People often don't give enough thought to this. It's crucial to carefully read the CMS, the community management statement. It contains the bylaws of the complex you're considering buying into. Making sure you understand the rules and that you're comfortable living with them is important. Bylaws are things like noise control, whether or not you can have pets. If you can, what type of pet, what size pet, any renovations you are allowed to do without consulting body corporate. Parking. Where is your car park? How many car parks do you have? Where's visited parking? Garbage disposal. They'll be setting rules about parking and garbage disposal. So, sometimes when you go into those apartments, the recycling goes down one, the rubbish goes down the other, and the glass has to be taken down. You don't want to be throwing bottles down. So they set these rules up, and then the people who live there follow the rules. And then they'll have a general meeting once a year where people can say, I don't like that rule, whatever. And then they'll have regular meetings monthly where they might say, oh, well, the person in room 16, unit 16 is applying to see if they can renovate their bathroom. They just want to understand what the rules and regulations are around it. So some of them will have rules where you can't hang your washing out on your balcony, that sort of thing. There's specific rules. Now, there's a new body corporate disclosure statement coming out in August 2025. There's a link to the draft one there for you if you'd like to know more about it between now and then, because it might change between now and then, and I've educated you on something that no longer exists. So seek professional advice. Your conveyancer can run additional searches, check and verify the health of body corporate. And that's body corporate. You're now educated. Any more questions about that, you make sure you let me know in the weekly Zoom meetings on Thursdays at 6 p.m. And I look forward to seeing your smiling faces then. Thank you. Bye.